Today is June the 24th, 2013. I want to welcome you to another edition of Joe's Politics 101. Today my subject's not going to be on politics. I've pretty much stayed away from the Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin situation since it happened. But now that the trial has began and there has been so much that has come about, I wanted to try to go over it from my perspective. I know a little bit about the law. I was in law enforcement for over 30 years. And I know a little bit about being a police officer and how police should handle their business. I was somewhat, well, let me say not somewhat, but disturbed by the actions of the Sanford, Florida Police Department on the night that Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by this guy Zimmerman. What struck me as odd and strange about it is that the police came to the scene. They took Mr. Zimmerman into custody and they took him to headquarters. They had the evidence that this young man had been shot and had deceased. Well, they took Mr. Zimmerman to the police department and did whatever paperwork I guess they would consider they needed to do, and released him based on his own personal assessment. Now, being a former police officer, I was kind of thrown by that, because normally when a crime is committed or something like that has been done, someone has been shot and killed, you file an initial charge on the individual. And what I mean by an initial charge, he is the one that had the weapon. He pulled the trigger on the weapon and caused the death of this person. So a preliminary charge of murder, first degree murder, second degree murder, or whatever the Florida statutes call for, seemed like to me would have been in order. After he had been charged, then it would be up to the district attorney's office or the state attorney, or however Florida functions with its law enforcement, to determine if they would accept those charges or if those charges would be something different. But it seems to me that the police department took it up on themselves to make a judgment on whether or not this man had committed a crime, but evidence existing that he did shoot this young man. He admitted that he shot this young man, claiming that it was in self-defense, and under the self-defense statute of Florida, whatever that may be. I hadn't even read it or looked into it, because I don't think those type of laws should exist, giving people just a makeshift reason, if they choose to shoot someone and lie about it. In the process of all of this happening, I've listened to those 911 tapes when they be on television. I've recorded them and I listened over and listened them over. And the questions that I have, and I'm not the judge and I'm not the jury, but there's something quirky about it. There's some things that just ain't matching up. And what's not matching up is, number one, he's riding around looking for someone to confront. Well, he sees this young man walking with a hoodie over his head, and he decides, based on his own statements, he decides that he's going to check this person out. Now, there are some rules that even law enforcement people have to go by. And this is taught in police academies across the United States. I've been to 3 different police academies in the United States. And this is taught in the United States. Number 1, unless you have probable cause to intervene or to intrude upon a person's personal privacy, you should not do it. This is police officers now. If a police officer pulls up next to a person and say, hey man, I need to talk to you, and that person decides, I don't want to talk to him, and continue to walk away, that police have no right by any law to make that person do anything. Now, that's just a fact. You can't just randomly pick people on the street and stop them for no reason. This is where I have the problem with Zimmerman. He sees this young man walking. He decides that this man is suspicious, and he invades this young man's privacy, his right to privacy, or his right to walk wherever he might have been going. He follows him, and he confronts him. And when the young man resists and tells him to go away, leave me alone, why are you messing with me, he continues to force the issue, when in fact he should have backed off and watched the young man to see where he went, and then call the police and have them come out and go check the young man out. The other thing that's suspicious to me about it is, why do you have a gun on your person to go confront someone who did no crime, who, as far as you know, could be living in the house right next door? The screams. Why would a 28-year-old man in possession of a gun be screaming, help me, help me, help me, when he has no reason to scream, help me, help me, help me? I'm looking at this case, which is probably has something to do with race. People who have racial issues are the first to deny the fact that they have a race problem. There are things that I would like to know that I've never heard any conversation on from the news media, from the police, from the Florida State District Attorney's Office, or any of that. How was Trayvon Martin shot? Was he shot laying on top of Zimmerman? Was he shot standing up? Was Zimmerman laying on the ground and shot him while he was standing above him? What is the trajectory of that bullet? Where was the entry wound and where was the exit wound? Based on all of the things that I've heard about this case, it seems like to me that Trayvon Martin should have been reacting on the self-defense law. Because it appears to me that he was attacked, confronted, and put into a situation to where he couldn't escape because of the gun situation. If you turn and run, you're probably going to get shot. If you stand there, you're going to be manhandled or pistol whooped. So what do? You holler for help. Help, help. Hope somebody hears you and come out. The lady on the phone on the 911 call would not come outside because she didn't know what was going on. And shortly after she said that, she heard a gunshot. It's really odd, you know, that this man is trying to use a hangman law, you know, the stand your ground law. You have a right to stand your ground when you feel threatened. You know, me telling someone to get out of my damn face could be threatening. Should I lose my life over that? And I believe that's basically what happened with Trayvon Martin. He probably told this man to leave me alone, get away from me, go away. A young boy put in a situation like that at 17. I'm pretty sure he was fearful, you know, unaware of who this individual was and why he was confronting him. You know, he's a neighborhood watch person, but he's not a police officer. He had no right to be there messing with that young man. And now we're in a situation where we've got a trial. We've got to have someone make a decision about whether or not this individual maliciously killed this young man. I believe it was out of malice. I just can't, after looking at all the evidence and listening to everything that I've heard, you know, him being defiant, suing the television network, his lawyers, you know, trying not to have or being successful in not allowing professional voice analysts to testify in court. You know, putting out words like racial profiling, which is basically what Zimmerman did. These guys always get away with this effing, or these effing guys always get away with this stuff. You know, not understanding what he was talking about. He may have had some bad experiences with some people, and he decided he was going to take it out on everybody. Now, the question I kind of ask myself is, if this had been a 25 or 23 or 22-year-old man that Zimmerman confronted, would the outcome have been different? What would the outcome have been then? You know, I believe that Mr. Zimmerman was out riding around looking for some black person. It didn't have to be Trayvon Martin. It could have been anybody that might have looked suspicious to him. No law enforcement training, no law enforcement work, you know, no law enforcement schooling, no probable cause to confront Trayvon Martin. The young man is dead and he's on trial. Makes for an interesting subject. You know, it also makes for an interesting subject that these legislators who put into place these stand your ground laws, for whatever reason they put them in place, should reopen that situation and fix it. Have some definite rules on what is considered reasons for standing your ground. Because based on what happened with Trayvon Martin and Zimmerman, the fact is, me telling you to get the hell out of my face is cause enough for you to shoot me in the state of Florida. I just wanted to weigh in on that today. I'll have more to say about this as this trial goes along. I have my opinion. And as the trial get close to the end and the jury start deliberating, I will be putting up my verdict on it as I listen to it and see it, and make a definite decision about what I think should happen. I mean, we all have opinions. There's nothing wrong with opinions. You know, I've always said opinions are like body parts. We all have them. Majority of the time they're not the same. This is an interesting case. This is a real interesting case because of the people involved and the reasoning behind Mr. Zimmerman shooting Trayvon Martin. I want to thank you for viewing my video. You have a good day. God bless you. God bless America. Ciao.